All right, today is March 26, 2025. This is the meeting of the Container Storage Interface Community. We've got a few items on the agenda. First up is Shing. Shing, you want to get started?
Yeah, sure. If you want to open that doc there, yeah, I just summarized the problem. So there was a bug opened a few weeks back. Basically, we found out that the resource size for individual volume snapshots are not set for some CSI drivers when they try to create a volume group snapshot. And then we, after some investigation, we found out it's because they didn't implement list snapshots in their CSI driver. So I have some details on, why this is not, we didn't populate this one. So is this too small? If you go look at the, I have that, the diagram. Uh,
Um,
okay, is this
list snapshots is optional, right?
It is, yeah. So that's the problem. So okay, so let me explain to you why we have this problem. So when we so in the sidecar, right? In the sidecar, we do create a group snapshot, and then we get the results returned. We have a group snapshot, right? Group snapshot has all the information about the group snapshot. We also have a list of snapshots. And for the list of snapshot for each, if you look at the under the snapshot one, snapshot two, for each snapshot, we actually have, snapshot ID, volume size, volume ID size, creation time. We actually have everything in the list of snapshots. But the problem is when we do the update, at this point we are in sidecar, we don't really have a individual volume snapshot content created yet. So what happened is in the code currently, I'm just explaining to you what happened currently. So whatever we have from that create group snapshot, right? The information about individual snapshot, the only thing we saved is the snapshot ID and the volume size and the volume ID. So we did not save size and whatever, all the remaining information. If you look at the snapshot one, snapshot two, we have all of those. We only saved the snapshot ID and the volume ID. And then if you move on to the next, because the group snapshot controller is the place where we are doing, we'll create the individual volume snapshot and volume snapshot content, and we're doing all the updates. And then we are relying on list snapshots when we do the reconcile. And then
So can I ask a question? For
yes.
individual snapshots,
Yes.
do we not have this problem and we don't rely on list snapshots?
We don't have that problem because for individual snapshot, we call create snapshot repeatedly. So that's the thing we did, right?
So you're saying the return from create snapshot is what tells us the size.
So because create snapshot is supposed to be idempotent, we just call, if list snapshot is not supported, we call create snapshot repeatedly. So that's not a problem for individual ones.
But I'm saying like that will give you the size.
Correct,
but
here we
with
cannot.
group snapshots.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
But we cannot do that for group snapshot because we cannot create individual snapshot for group snapshot case. That's why we cannot do that code path.
Isn't the obvious solution to say then that list snapshots is a required API if you want to implement group snapshots, and we can just document?
That will be, that's what I'm asking if you're okay with it, because that will be the easiest solution. We have we discussed three. If you go move down, actually, we don't option. Yeah, we actually discussed this one in the 6 meeting sometime, 6 meeting. Yeah. So there are three options. I think option three, that's the one that you were just saying, that I think that will be the easiest. Then we just need to tell them, hey, can you just implement list snapshots? I don't know why they cannot implement that, right? So I can go back and ask them, is there any reason that you cannot implement this? If you want to support group snapshot, you have to implement list snapshots. The two other solutions are option one is that we have to make this very ugly API change, which will break the beta API. Basically, right now in volume group snapshot content status, we do have this pair, right? The volume snapshot ID and the volume ID pair. But if we can change that to say we also save size. It's kind of ugly. It's possible but ugly, and also we breaks the beta API. That's so don't like that one. And
what's number two?
Number two is in the sidecar, we create volume snapshot content when we create volume group snapshot. So that means we need to add a new RBAC rule to do create a volume snapshot. We actually had this in the alpha version. In the beta version, we moved all the creation call to snapshot controller because we want to, when we implement the volume snapshot feature, we kind of separate them, right? Snapshot controller will
But I
be
don't understand how
Huh?
this fixes it.
I'm
How
sorry.
does option two fix the problem? I don't understand.
Then basically if you go back to the diagram, right? When we call create, where is that? Is this I think it's the first is this the first diagram? Yeah. So basically when we call create group snapshot here, we actually will create a individual volume snapshot content, and then we can save. So at least we can save it, because once you save it, then you should be fine, because
But you need like if there's 8 volumes in your group and you're snapshotting all of them, you need to get all 8 of their.
right. We have them. We have them here. So when we call create group snapshot, we actually have them here. We actually have them here, right? Because once we have group snapshot ID, all of that, we also have individual snapshot IDs and volume ID. And
Okay. So you're saying the CSI API gives drivers a way to return the correct thing at creation time, and we just forget that information on the sidecar side.
Yeah, but there is one problem with this one. I think we kind of still want to rely on the list snapshots for the ready to use, but we can argue that you should not be relying on that one, because I think in CSI doc we actually says, right, your group snapshot ready to use should not be set to true unless all your individual ones are ready. So we can just rely on that one. So that one we probably fine. We have a way to work around.
Okay.
But that it's I mean okay. Yeah. So the downside is just I said, then we kind of now we have to create the thing in the sidecar. We kind of try to separate them, saying, hey, the sidecar should be kind of dumb and simple and easy. It does not need to go do all of this creation. Does not have have to rely on this API thing, right? There's no like API. I think Yang has some concerns on like now you have to have this API dependency.
Yeah, but from the CSI drivers or from the CSI driver writers perspective, like why are they returning this information through the create if Kubernetes is just going to ignore all of that and come and ask for it again through like that seems like a bad client of the API.
Right. That's true too. Yeah, that's true too. Yeah. It's I mean, definitely that there are pros and cons. Sounds like here we should save it somehow, right? It's just like what's those options, we kind of look at it. That's the thing.
So let's talk about option 3 then real quick. So
okay, yeah.
Like
can you move,
there are downsides to list, right? Like so let me ask this. There's 2 flavors of list. There's like list without a filter, and then there's list with a filter that basically you can specify exactly one snapshot. So
right.
do
We
you
want
have
to
to
list with filter. Yes, the one with the filter, that's the one we need.
like a singleton, it's going to call list
we actually never
on each
really
member?
So we actually never really use list snapshots without filter in our sidecars because we don't really have a need for that, right?
Right. Well, I was going to say that I think that's the reason a lot of drivers don't implement it, is because it's very expensive, very hard
So can we say,
to implement for the full version of list.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. Can we say that you can, maybe you just have to implement list snapshot with this filter if you that I think makes sense.
Well, but I mean that argues for like I think we eventually implemented get volume in addition to list volume, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like maybe what we need is just get snapshot to make it very.
Do we want to do that, I guess? Do we want to add that? That's my question.
I mean, I don't like the idea of saying like you have to implement list, but only the filtered version, because then it's like, well, that's a get.
Weird. Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Does it make sense for you to add get snapshot? I think at that time was because we have list volumes. We never have a get, right? And then later on we actually added we actually added get, so maybe it makes sense. So does it make sense for us just to add a get snapshot now?
Well,
Or I guess.
so first of all, I think it does. Like, there's no reason not to have it if we're going to have lists, and it's way easier to implement get than to implement list.
Okay.
So like we should do it just to
Just to
have
get.
it.
Okay, makes sense. So,
But like if that's our solution to fix this problem, then we're right back to, the existing beta API doesn't work and everyone needs to update their software to implement this new thing before it can work. And at that point, option 2 starts to look more appealing, right? Because option 2 is closer to what would have worked correctly with the existing CSI API. So we could pursue both in parallel. We could say, let's go ahead and add get snapshot to the CSI as a degenerate version of list.
Okay. But do you want to do, I mean, I guess the thing, because I think I also like to ask Yang again, because he has very big concerns on doing that. We actually made this big change when moving up from alpha to beta.
Yeah. No, I get that it's going to be disruptive and it's going to slow down our path to GA and all that, right? Because you're basically resetting beta back to like a new, I don't know if it would require beta 2, but it would basically be like restarting the clock on our beta.
No, we don't really have API change. I don't think we need a beta 2. I mean,
okay.
We're not, if we do make option 1, that's like a beta 2 because we're making API change, which is also, I mean, that's kind of ugly. I guess nobody likes it.
Yeah, I don't like that one, but
option 2, I think
appeals to me.
option 2 is basically like implementation, right? This is not like it's not your API change. So it's really how you implement this thing. So option 2 makes sense to me. I think Yang has some concerns. We can talk to him again.
Okay.
I think his concerns is more about sidecar, like update or things like that. Now you have this API dependency. I think he has some concerns on that. So
okay.
But again, group snapshot is different from individual snapshot. I mean, it's not. So when we design the snapshot thing for individual one snapshots, right, we separate them, but it's different. Now we have a group. It just can't be the same as anymore, right? It's difficult to do the exact same thing. So you just always create the content in the controller, not in the sidecar. It's just yeah. Okay, so you prefer option. So you're saying do 2 and 3. I guess what is.
Well, no. So I'm saying like I don't like 3 in the sense that we shouldn't specify that you have to implement list when what we really need is get. If we had a get, we could just specify that and then.
So if we suggest that, do we still need option 2? I guess that's my question, because we actually don't really need to make that change in 2.
Yeah. So I guess the thing that makes me uncomfortable at option 3 is if CSI spec or CSI driver writers implemented the existing spec, like they provided to Kubernetes everything that Kubernetes needed, and Kubernetes just didn't consume it correctly. And now we're coming back and saying, now you have to implement another call because we did it wrong on our side. And that just feels kind of unfair. Now I agree, like
I see, yeah. It's like we want to make the like try to avoid adding this new RBAC, then we just ignore something.
Yes, you're basically creating work for all the CSI driver authors.
Yeah. So
when they did the right thing to begin with.
Option 2, I think option 2 seems right to me. Okay, create snapshot content. Yeah.
But what I was saying is like adding get snapshot would be helpful in the future. If we ever have another issue like this, you could be like, oh, we'll just use get snapshot.
Okay. Okay, so we can propose that, but I mean, what is the what can you say use cases that it's coming from this one, or we just say get snapshot makes sense because a lot of people cannot implement these snapshots, right?
Right. Well, because now we have an obvious example where get snapshot would have been useful.
Yeah.
And list snapshot is very expensive to implement correctly. And so we should give driver authors an out to say, I am only going to implement get but not list. And then everyone's happy.
Okay, sure. So I think that makes sense to me. So we can just try to do both.
And then on the CSI side, like we can check like if it supports get, prefer that. If it supports list, use list with a filter. And if it
Okay.
supports neither, like then you
Yeah,
get bad
that
behavior unless we implement this fix.
right. Yeah, sure, makes sense. Right. Okay.
So basically, this
The
is a
get.
combination of option 2 plus get get snapshot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it should be really easy to get snapshot in because it's
Okay.
just going to be a copy of list snapshot without the listing, right?
Sure. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Sure. Makes sense.
Did Sunny join? Can we move on to the next topic?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Sunny is
Sunny's
in.
here.
Hey, Sunny.
Hello.
Looks like you got a item here. You want to walk through it?
Yeah, it's just there are a few PRC to do for WAC because we're planning to GA in 1.34. The first one is just correct the wording for the quota usage in the cap because quota itself is a namespace resource, not a cluster scope resource, and we discovered that it supports capacity as well by default.
This is just a documentation or
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, and then the next one I think is Xing brought up about like we want to roll back VAC if it's invisible errors.
Oh, you have a fix already? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great.
What is an infeasible error? This is new to me.
I think it's in value argument, something like out of scope, and there's one more. And they tried at a slower rate.
At what layer is this error being produced?
What do we mean produced?
I mean, is this a CSI error? Is this a Kubernetes error? Is this a REST error? It's like
yeah, it's in the CS. It's one of the CSI errors, but like it's from the driver.
okay.
It's
This is
the driver.
this is a gRPC error.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can send the modified volume request down to the driver, and it can return back with infeasible.
Yes.
And then what are we going to do?
And then currently we retry it at a slower rate. I think it's 5 minutes or 2 minutes or something.
Like you're saying that that's what we did before this, or that's the fix for this?
That's what we are doing it right now, trying in a slower rate. But we didn't allow users to roll back to the previous VAC. Like the user currently, they have to, if they change from VAC A to VAC B, and then they get an invisible error, they need to roll back by creating VAC C.
Why can't they move back to A?
Because of some logic we have to check, it needs to be different from the current VAC.
Can we just remove that logic?
Yeah, that's what the fix is doing.
Okay, I see. So we're just going to let you go back to A.
Yes, if it's infeasible.
Makes sense to me. But why was the logic put in to begin with? Are we going to step on a landmine?
We didn't think about the rollback back then.
But there must have been a reason to prevent it. Like if it was A and then you change it to B and we're trying to update it to B and then you change it back to A, like why could that have ever been bad?
Been overly cautious.
I'm just afraid that there's actually a good reason and we're ignoring it. And we're gonna step on a landmine.
I suspect this is from like you remember the resize if you want to go to expansion, but if you want to recover, that actually is very difficult, right? So maybe that's somehow coming from that. But this one is a little different. I think this is not the same as the size because that one has quota.
The reason expansion is hard is because you're not supposed to be able to go down. You can only go up. But here you can change to anything to anything.
Right. I'm guessing maybe the reason was because this was kind of because it's in the same resizer. I'm just wondering if kind of having some similar logic there. Does not go back, maybe. Right.
I hope
guessing.
it's something simple like that, and
Yeah.
just removing the logic will keep us out of trouble. Because obviously you should be able to go back to A
Yeah.
if you want. So how is the user going to know? Like when the user changes it from A to B, what feedback is the user going to receive that will inform them that they should change it back to A?
You can see an event saying like the modify volume failed.
Okay, so if you're watching the object, you'll see that the spec and the status never reconcile, and then
Yeah.
you'll go look at the events and you'll see an explanation for why they're not reconciling, and then you can choose to change
back.
it to something else.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, and the last one is just adding stress test. But I also find out that most of our stress tests only test 10, like 10 pods, which seems very low.
What layer are we stressing? Are we trying to stress the sidecars or the driver or Kubernetes?
So this is just trying to like create a volume with volume attributes class. So it's the creation operation and then the update operation.
And we just create like 10 in parallel and hope that they succeed and call it a day. Yeah, that's not very stressful. But, it's certainly better than just creating one.
But this is for the continuous testing. So for other existing stress tests, is also like 10-ish. But I was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
I was just wondering for launch, did we do something different? Like, for example, you need to test more to qualify the stress test for the launch checklist.
I don't know if we have institutionalized stress testing.
I think I'll probably just follow the whatever we have done before. Also check with Michelle. She might have some idea because in the past I know she's talking to the testing, like SIG testing.
Okay.
She probably have some, background information why we always use 10. There's a reason.
Well, if this is part of like the regular test suite that everyone's running all the time, like you don't want to go crazy because that's
you want the test to finish in a certain.
You want the test to get like someone should test 1,000 occasionally, but you don't want that to be part of the test suite everyone runs with every commit because that's crazy, right? So if these tests are the ones that are being run with every single PR, then yeah, it makes sense that 10 is a good choice. But like there needs to be another test that you run infrequently that actually stresses it to like 1,000 or something.
We can also ask Patrick to take a look, just to his SIG testing. He may have some suggestions. Even if there's anything new from SIG testing, he would know.
Yeah, does Kubernetes as a community have like a real stress test that runs like infrequently where we try to crush the system? Or is that something that's only done like by vendors?
Don't know.
Because I mean, obviously, a lot of vendors like Google are motivated to like run our tests and make sure that our specific implementations scale. But like the implementations of those kinds of tests aren't the kind of thing that can just be generalized to everyone's environment. So maybe that kind of testing is best left to the vendors who are motivated to to
Yeah, I think
sure make
I
sure they
think there's
scale.
try to avoid some tests like for example, for the non-graceful shutdown, right? We actually didn't really add that there was a test we didn't add just because we don't want to disrupt
Because
the
it's a destructive kind of test, right?
yeah. So
Yeah.
there are some concerns.
Okay. Well, I hope that someone in the SIG testing is thinking about generalized ways to test destructive things, but scale testing, yeah, it doesn't seem like something that is easy to implement in a way that benefits the whole community.
Thanks for flagging these, Sunny. Anything else that you wanted to surface today, or anyone else on the call?
No, that's all I want to talk about.
I thought, Sunny, you added some other topics earlier, but that's for next time.
Yeah, no, I think those we discussed. The first one is modify volume. Want to add it to the expansion request, but Herman said no. Try what AWS does first. So we are trying what AWS does.
Okay.
Okay, cool. I think that was it for today then. We'll reconvene in a month. Thanks, folks.
Hey, thank you. Bye.
Thanks.